from Brigade Group.
Thank you. This mic works? It does. Perfect. And I've got my slides up. All right. So we've all heard this before. We live in a connected world. It's almost like a cliched kind of a statement that we hear from many, many people. But I have a very specific meaning to this statement. Why are we connected? I mean, it's not like when the Fed sneeze in the US and the BSE catches cold here in India, but it's kind of similar. We have all these man-made disasters. Some of these are not, but clearly, every time a volcano erupts in Iceland, the entire world basically grinds to a halt. Anytime, you see wildfires in Indonesia, it's not just Indonesia that's suffering, it kind of percolates all the way down to Australia. And we actually see a lot of that domino also affect the east coast of India, right? Now, there is a dollar value that is attached to all of these disasters that you basically see here. I actually want to specifically point out one disaster that is kind of closer to home, which is the burning of crops residue that happens in the north of India every winter. How many of you have been to Delhi in the months of November, December, January? Is it yeah, I mean, Clearco fixes air quality indoors, but it's impossible to breathe air in Delhi because of the fact that farmers in the states of Punjab and Haryana are burning their crop residue because they need to get ready for the next cycle. But what happens is a lot of that smoke basically comes downstream and just makes life a living hell, as we all know, right? There is this is another, this is something that, a lot of you from Europe would know. It is the largest man-made desert in the world. It was a water body that was the 4th largest lake, where the water was diverted towards cotton farming by the powers that be in Russia. And now we have a massive man-made desert. What you see there are not toy ships. These are full-sized passenger ocean liners that we're looking at, right? There's a lot of economic impact. I mean, the whole theme of this panel, Jose, was about, how do we address sustainability? What is sustainability to the built environment? It is, everybody that lives in a building or works in a building is basically contributing to the problem, let's face it, right? Now, all of these problems have a serious price tag attached to it. And, at Brigade REAP, the organization that I represent, we want to make sure that, we are not just postulating, on a stage like this that, there are so many ills and problems in the world, unless you show your consumers, your customers, a path towards, how do you save money or make money by using these problems as opportunities for you to do your business better. There is just no way that sustainability is going to jump from the marketing brochures to actual impact, right? So what is the problem? These slides are not animating, so just bear with that. But if you look at the population density globally, if you look at numbers in New York, yeah, I mean we know it's a really dense city, 421. But look at Mumbai, 77,000 people per square mile. It's yeah, I mean we all travel there a lot. We've just kind of taken Slovenia. What was the population there again? 300,000. Half that, yeah. So yeah, we have about 1 million Slovenias in the city of Mumbai alone. So that's the problem. And what this is doing, this massive, this is not an India-specific problem either, by the way, right? What this is doing is it's adding a lot of pressure on the infrastructure. Water is something that we all know is a problem. If you're following the news in Southern California, sir, you come from the Bay Area, I'm guessing. You're not allowed to water your lawn, wash your cars. There are wildfires that basically start on schedule every year in the US now, right? And we are not, this is not a problem that is local to me or you. It's a global problem that we have to somehow acknowledge and figure out what is it that we are supposed to be doing about it, right? But what that is doing is, Cape Town went dry, infamously. Chennai went dry a few years ago, even though it is right next to the ocean. Right? But because the water quality is just not good enough. What is being projected is more than 20 cities are at the risk of running entirely dry in the country of India alone. It's a huge problem. And water is a non-renewable resource. We need to figure out how do we use it conservatively instead of trying to figure out how ways to create water. It just doesn't make sense, you know. Sewage is another problem. And what I'm trying to do here is focus on three issues that we in the world of construction and real estate and PropTech have the power to address and hopefully come up with some solutions for, right? Sewage. Now the construction industry is not very proudly one of the biggest contributors to the global sewage problem. C&D waste, as it is called, construction and demolition waste, basically accounts for more than a third of the landfills that we see all around the world, right? And there is no reason why the waste that the construction industry generates should end up in a landfill in the first place. There are ways for you to kind of repurpose that. And you know, there are experiments that have gone well, there are experiments that have not gone well, but there's definitely a lot of promise to that, right? If, how many of you have seen a lake that is on fire? Anybody? People from Bangalore obviously are very familiar with this concept. It's unique. Again, something that we're not proud of, but the reason is that almost 50% of the city's waste is untreated and flows into, you know, the lakes that were once the lifeline of the city. Now again, not a unique problem to Bangalore. I mean, catching fire unique to Bangalore, sure, but the fact is that 70% of sewage is not treated in the developing world. You know, why is that happening even now? I mean, despite the fact that we know that it's a real problem, right? Does the economics support it or doesn't support it? We'll see. Waste, I think I've covered that. Breathing's harder. I don't want to steal Clareco's thunder again, of course. I mean, they're doing a phenomenal job, but you know, we are looking at the quality of air holistically. It's not just outdoors, but also indoors. And how do you kind of, you know, use technology to do a better job here? So this heat map that you see is the map of Bangalore, people. What you see on the right is, you know, from about 25 years ago. And even though we know Bangalore as one of the greener cities in India, look at the amount of urbanization that has happened here. But look at the impact that this urbanization has happened, you know, at the bottom. The numbers are self-explanatory. 40% of all CO2 emissions come from the built environment, right? We are all responsible. We are all the culprits. 35% of all waste is generated by the built environment, okay? How much does it run? I mean, this room or, you know, high rises like the building that I work in, massive HVAC costs, energy costs, right? There is a lot of awareness about it now, but even then, 30% of your energy expenditure is actually wastage. How do we arrest that, right? 20% of all water is in buildings as well. So we have a startup in our portfolio called Smarter Dharma, who have tangibilized the loss that let's say a single city of Bangalore is looking at because of the wastage and inefficiency in the areas of energy, water and waste management. Just one city alone is slated to look at a loss of $2.5 billion over 15 years. You look at the top 20 cities in India, it's a massive amount of money, right? And you know, it's criminal. I mean, any businessman or woman worth his or her salt is going to just, you know, be alarmed at that number. So we all know the real estate industry is extremely inefficient. I don't think anybody disagrees with me there. You know, 20% of the projects are always over budget. 80% of them are delayed. You know, nobody owns up to that, but we know that for a fact. So that's why we were set up. You know, the Accelerator, this mission statement has not changed. We are the earliest PropTech focused accelerator in Asia. We started life in 2016. And this slide is a constant, you know, where we are continuing to look for people that are using innovative approaches to, you know, age-old problems that have been taken for granted, and how do you create sustainable and scalable businesses using that technology. So, looks like a very busy slide, sure, but you know, these are the kind of areas that we basically look at, and I want to specifically focus on the sustainability bucket, which should have been green in color, but it is purple. All right. 40% of our portfolio is consists of companies that are specifically looking at sustainability. We've looked at two of them already. Clairco and Pothole Raja are both. I'm privileged to have worked with them as a mentor, and they are looking at amazing success because of the fact that they are focusing on sustainability as a problem, but also sustainability is a problem with a firm economic kind of a platform that they're building their business on, right? But then we are looking at various other areas like smart spaces or customer delight, which happens once a building is built and is handed over, and then what happens post occupation. Lot of interesting clients for the companies that we mentor. Let me not spend too much time there. This is something that I want to take 30 seconds on. What is the impact that these startups are creating? Just by monitoring every drop of water that goes into, let's say, a 2-bedroom apartment in a 500 apartment building, a company like We Got has been able to save 5 billion liters of water over the past 3 years, just by monitoring it, right? We need about 20 more We Gots. It is not a winner takes all type of a market at all. I mean, it's like, how do you use technology to basically make an impact where, I might be paying, if you stay in the Sarjapur or Bilandur side, a large chunk of your, the monthly maintenance fees that you pay to your apartment complex goes into your water bill, which could be anywhere between 3,000 to 4,000 rupees. If it comes down to about 500 or 600 rupees, that's a huge upside already, but it's also kinder to the planet that you're living on, You look at a company like EcoSTP. They have basically mimicked the innards of a cow, the 4 chambers of a cow's stomach. They've synthesized bacteria from there. It's an anaerobic bacteria that basically is deployed now to in their patented sewage treatment technology that does not require any diesel or manpower to run, and it doesn't stink. All right. Now, what that does is that the real estate developers love it because they are able to reclaim, the real estate that otherwise would have been banished to a corner because of the stink, etc. They are able to build children's playgrounds on it or whatever, right? So it's a win-win for everybody. What is in it for the developer? So we can look at the top 4 numbers. You basically managed to do 70,000 kgs of, let's say, waste disposal on premise, which didn't go to the landfill. This is a real life case study from a Bangalore-based developer called CoEvolve, right? So all the good stuff is at the top, but what is a developer really interested in? It's those 2 numbers on the left, in the middle, that I am able to now command a premium of at least 40 to 50 rupees per square foot because of the fact that I've invested in this technology, right? He is now actually looking at making more money because of the fact that he's invested in cleaner tech, and that is something that you really can't argue with. And what happens later once you start occupying these buildings is that your monthly maintenance goes down, and if you look at that number, your annual OPEX saving is a massive 67 lakh rupees. So almost coming to a close here. That's our scorecard. We are brutally honest about our failures as well as our successes, of course. Not everybody graduates when we start mentoring companies. It's not like we have a graduation ceremony, of course, but half of these companies have gone on to raise capital from marquee investors, and one of the roles that we play is that of demystifying the business of PropTech to the best VCs out there who have been shy about working with real estate companies. And the government recognized us as the top accelerator in India in 2020. It was an inaugural award of its kind where they basically matched us against about 300 other accelerators in the country. So a pretty proud moment for us. And that's what we do here. Thank you for your time. Thanks, Chad.